Right, so visualization. Sometimes known as mental imagery or mental rehearsal, it's probably the most popular mental skill used by elite performers. Chances are you've heard that some of your favorite athletes use it and you're thinking of giving it a go. So let's run through a beginner's guide to visualization. Firstly, what actually is visualization? Well, it's a mental training tool. And that's the first thing to know. It's a training tool, something that requires practice and effort to get good at. So if you're not willing to put in the time to develop this skill, then it's probably not going to benefit you. Anyway, visualization just involves picturing aspects of your performance in your mind. And it's not just about picturing the good. You know, scoring the penalty, crossing the finishing line, or hitting the buzzer beater. It's equally about picturing the bad, when things are not going to plan or when you're up against it. And in both cases of picturing the good or the bad, visualization is just all about mentally preparing you so that you can deal with that moment when it occurs in real life on game day. It allows you to run through exactly what you're going to do in that moment, because in the heat of competition, there's often no time to think. You just have to do. And so visualization is about running through a mental script that you can automatically follow and ultimately maximize your chances of putting in a peak performance. Great, but why should you do it? I get it, visualization seems a little bit weird, sometimes a bit cringe, and just a bit awkward to do in the first place. But if it's good enough for the greatest athletes in their respective sports, then surely it's good enough for you. And there's infinite reasons why you should do it, but here are two of the most important. Firstly, it helps you handle pressure better. As said before, visualization is mentally preparing you for all the what-ifs that can happen on the day of your big event. And the more prepared we feel, the more in control we feel about dealing with any situation. Stress and anxiety during performance often comes about because of a lack of control. We don't necessarily feel that our behavior is impacting the outcome of an event, or if it's too uncertain as to how things will go down. But if you mentally visualize all possible outcomes, then you have a much better sense of control as to how to deal with them as and when they emerge in real life. And the second reason why you should practice visualization is because it makes you more confident. And we become more confident the more times we successfully do something. So visualization is a sneaky little trick because our brains can't really distinguish between real and fake memories. So if you've practiced the game-winning shot 100 times in your mind, you're always going to be confident in taking it during a real game. And so now you know what visualization is as well as why we should do it, let's now talk about how you should do it. And this really varies sport to sport and whatever personal reason you're using visualization for. But there's 5 key steps that any beginner can use to have a successful practice of this key mental skill. And the first thing you want to do is set the environment. And this is super important because if you don't set up the right conditions to do visualization, it's not really going to work. This is not something you can just casually do when you're doing other things like driving to practice. You need to create the optimal conditions to just mentally lock in and focus solely on the visualization. So go to a quiet room, put your phone away and on airplane mode. You want complete silence and to eliminate anything or anyone that's going to break your focus. And the second thing is to write it down first. Now, of course, visualization is about mentally running through something, but if you're a complete beginner, you'll find that your mind just completely wanders and it's very difficult to remain focused on one thing. So it's important to laser your focus just by writing down the moment or the goal first. This just helps break through all the noise and gives you something far more tangible to work with. It just needs to be a prompt for you to focus on so that you've got a clear intention. And it can just be one simple sentence. And the third thing is to then take a few deep breaths. The reason is to just slow yourself down and to put yourself in a relaxed and suggestible state to change. And this will basically help the images become a lot clearer in your mind. And then step number 4 is to actually play it out. So this is it. Close your eyes and you now want to start mentally running through that event in your mind. You'll want to run through it a few times. Firstly, play it out in real time so that you're aware of every movement or motion so that you can clearly picture perfect form of your skills. And then make things go slow motion where it's necessary to again get the clearest picture on how you're moving your body or connecting with the ball. And if you feel your mind wander, just bring it back to the start of the moment. And remember, the key is not to just play out the good stuff like the game-winning shot. You've also got to play out things that could possibly go wrong so that you have a mental script of how you're actually going to overcome them and deal with them as they arise. So things like maintaining positive body language if the opposition scores first, or just maintaining your composure if your legs are really burning during that last sprint to the finish line. So just remember, visualization is about playing out anything and everything, covering all bases and all possibilities. And then the last step to help with the previous step is to engage all of your senses. This makes those experiences you're visualizing just that extra bit more vivid and believable and you'll just be able to engage with them a lot better. So don't just see what's going on. Hear the calls from teammates or the roar of the crowd. Feel the sensation of your foot or hand connecting with the ball. Smell the grass of the pitch and taste the sweat that runs down onto your lip. Doing this just makes it much more vivid and allows you to cement that newfound confidence of being able to deal with any situation as and when it arises in real life. And that's it. Those are the key steps to carrying out a successful visualization. And the only thing you need to do now is put it into practice, because it is a mental skill. And like any other skill, if you don't practice it, you're not going to get better at it and actually see the benefit of it. And there is actually one other key skill that I think all athletes need to get a grasp of if they're to reach the top of their game. So check out this next video here to find out what that is.